There is no anger in the sea, nor kindness. It simply is. In its vast heart, men are no more than drifting shadows. The cook, clumsy but hopeful, bailed frantically. The oiler, strong and silent, rowed with grim purpose. The captain, wounded but unbroken, gave steady orders. The correspondent, a thinker trapped in chaos. The cook sat in the bottom and looked at the 6 inches of boat which separated him from the ocean.
God, that was a narrow shave.
The oiler steered with a thin oar that often seemed about to snap. The correspondent rowed and watched the waves and wondered why he was there. The injured captain lay in the bow, sunken in that deep dejection and indifference which comes after disaster. He saw the 7 faces and the white-top mast swinging in, the gray dawn, and then disappearing.
South a little, Billy.
South a little, sir.
The cook and the correspondent argued the difference between a house of refuge and a life-saving.
They'll see us and come out in boats.
Who'll see us? There's no crew at a house of refuge.
Anyway, we're not there.
Each wave was a hill, from which they could see a broad, tumultuous expanse of sea.
Lucky it's an onshore wind. Otherwise, there'd be no chance.
What do you think the chances are?
They coughed and cleared their throats. Each slaty wall of water shut all else. From view, there was a terrible grace in the movement of the waves. They came in silence, save for the snarling of the crests. The birds came very close, their black bead-like eyes fixed silently on the men. They were uncanny and sinister in their unblinking scrutiny. The captain gently and carefully waved the gull away.
You look as if you were made with a jackknife.
The birds struck their minds as being somehow gruesome and ominous. It was easier to steal eggs from under a hen than to change seats in the dinghy.
Look on now. Steady there.
The brown mats of seaweed appeared stationary, telling them they made slow pro. The captain cautiously reared in the bow and said he had seen the Mosquito Inlet lighthouse.
I also saw it.
At last, from the crest of a gentle wave, the correspondent swiftly scoured the horizon.
Didn't he see anything?
If this wind holds and the boat don't swamp, we can't do much else.
Squib water cook.
All right, Captain.
They were friends. Friends. In a curiously iron-bound degree. The hurt captain spoke always in a low, calm voice. They spread the captain's coat on an oar for a sail. The oiler steered, and the little boat made good way with new rig. From the top of each wave they could see land, a long black shadow on the sea.
Probably opposite New Smyrna. They abandoned that life-saving station about a year ago.
Really?
They rowed reluctantly, suffering a bodily depression.
Rowing is not entertainment at all.
Take it easy. Boys, save you strength.
That must be a house of refuge, said the cook.
There should be no other ships going ashore before us to report the accident, right?
We may not make it to the lighthouse. Billy, turn the bow of the boat a little north.
North a little, sir.
The correspondent found 8 cigars in his pocket. 4 were wet, but 4 were perfectly good. Somebody found 3 dry matches. Their backs had become used to circus-like balancing in the wild boat. The 4 waifs in the boat puffed at big cigars and smoked with the grace of men on a lawn.
Cook, doesn't seem to be any signs of life about your house of refuge.
The land slowly rose from the sea.
It's strange. Why haven't they seen us yet?
Funny they don't see us.
We're definitely going to capsize.
The lightheartedness had faded. Bitterness clouded their minds.
We must make a try for sure ourselves. If we fail to make it ashore together.
If I am going to be drowned, why was I allowed to come this far?
Each seemed about to smash the dinghy and drown it in foam. The surf roared with a deep, booming note.
This boat won't live 3 minutes more in this surf, and we're too far out to swim.
Go ahead.
The boat tossed toward deeper water, and for a time the men sat wordless. There was considerable silence as the boat bumped over the furrowed sea to deeper water.
They should have seen us.
The oiler rowed, and then the correspondent rowed.
Did you ever like to row, Billy?
No, hang it.
Look, there's a man on the shore.
He's waving at us.
We're saved. A boat will be here in half an hour.
They tied a bath towel on a stick and waved it frantically.
What is he doing now?
He ran away again and was still looking at us.
A man waved his coat wildly. Another came riding on a bicycle.
Is that a ship or is it a carriage?
It's an omnibus. He just stood there and kept his coat revolving like a wheel.
Does he think we are fishing?
Why don't they bring a boat instead of playing like fools?
Why doesn't he give us a real signal, something definite? Just spinning that coat around what an idiot.
More people are coming, but they do nothing.
Well, they've seen us. They'll send a boat soon.
At least they had seen us.
What if we have to stay out here all night?
The man waving his coat blended gradually into this gloom.
I'd like to catch that chump who waved the coat. If I am going to be drowned if, I am going to be drowned if, I am going to be drowned.
The 7 mad gods who rule the sea.
Why was I allowed to come thus far and contemplate sand and trees?
It was surely a quiet evening. All save the oarsmen lay heavily and listlessly in the boat.
Billy, what kind of pie do you like best?
Don't talk about those things. Blast you.
I was just thinking of ham sandwiches.
These 2 lights were the furniture of the world.
Will you spell me for a little while?
Sure, Billy.
He seemed to go to sleep instantly. The waves had finally quieted down. The surf no longer roared. The rower's task was to keep the boat headed into the waves. Often one had to wait till the sea towered before discovering it. The correspondent spoke in a low voice to the captain.
Captain, shall I keep it headed toward that line north, sir?
Yes, keep it about the points of the port bow.
The cook had tied a lifebelt around himself with a piece of rope. It was like an oven of comfort. When the correspondent stopped rowing, he immediately lost the movement of the oar. They were the babes of the sea, a grotesque rendering of the old babes in the wood. Suddenly there was a booming, and the water came in like a river. The oiler sat up, blinking, and shook with the new cold.
Oh, I am sorry, Billy.
All right, old man.
The wind came up sharply over the sea and struck him with a cry of universe. A long, glowing trail in the water, like a blue flame, was like a jaunt blade. A black fin passed like a ghost close to the boat, leaving a luminous trail. The correspondent wondered if the captain had dozed too. Though it seemed unlikely, the wind came up sharply over the sea and struck him with a cry of the universe. There was none to offer him a sympathy of it. He muttered something. The thing remained about the boat, at times near or far, and swished with a menacing tune.
If I am going to be drowned, if I am going to be drowned, if I am going to be drowned.
He had a great desire to knock down the temple or throw bricks at the temple. Nature does not regard him. She makes no promise to drown him or not drown. She was indifferent, flatly indifferent. He understood with mournful awe. He might imagine a piteous appeal to a cruel brute of the sea.
Yes, but I love myself.
A high cold star on winter night answered him. They said nothing, but each man had of course reflected. Their expressions showed no new thoughts. Language was used only for rowing. A verse mysteriously entered his head.
I shall never see my homeland again.
The correspondent felt a sympathy for the dying soldier of the Legion that was real and personal. He saw again the soldier lying on the sand with blood coming from his fingers. He was moved by a profound and detached pity. It was no longer a poem he had heard at school, but a tragedy seen with his own eyes. The thing evidently grew tired of waiting. The light still shone, but it was apparently no nearer. There was a long roseate streak, and the low thunder of the surf rang in the ears.
A long night. Those life-saving people take their time.
Did you see any sharks?
I see it. It really is a big one.
Wish I had known you were awake. Billy, can you spell me a little?
Sure.
The correspondent lay in the bottom of the boat and realized he was asleep. Although his teeth rattled and his knees shook, he was in the deepest sleep of his life.
Let them sleep if they can. We'll give those boys a chance to rest.
The boat is drifting in too close to shore. We've got to pull it out to sea again.
The captain handed him a bottle of whiskey and water to bring back warmth.
If I ever get ashore and anybody shows me a picture of Oz again, I will beat him up.
Nature was indifferent. She was coldly indifferent. He imagined starting over again, with courtesy and grace in social moments. The shore dawned slowly. A white windmill rose from among black cottages.
If no help is coming, we better try for the shore.
Better roll the stern first.
The boat climbed a wave and then toppled. Water came from all directions.
Scoop water, 过过, scoop water.
The next wave is the last one. Jump clear of the boat when it swamps.
The third wave moved forward. Huge, furious, implacable. It engulfed the boat. The correspondent held a piece of lifebelt to his chest with his left hand. The coldness of the water was tragic and sinister. It was colder than he had expected. He saw the oiler ahead, swimming strongly. The cook was near. The captain clung to the overturned boat with his one sound hand. He slid down the wave as if he were on a toboggan. It was as if a picture in a gallery hung on a wall was real.
Am I going to drown? Can it be possible?
He saw the man, running and stripping, leap into the sea and stride through the surf. The man first dragged the cook ashore. He turned to swim toward the captain, but the latter waved him toward the correspondent.
Thank you, old man.
What's that?
Go and save him.
The oiler lay face downward. His forehead touched the sand, visible between the waves. He fell, striking the sand with each particular part of his body. It was as if he had fallen from a roof. The men are holding blankets, clothes, and wine bottles, and the women are holding coffee pots. They carried him tenderly and laid him on the sand. There was a hush. He was given to the shore with reverent silence. And they felt that they could then interpret the meaning of the great sea's voice.